Hi lovelies, you're welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be making a notch collar shirt, and this is a free shirt. Okay, so let's get started. Now from this point here, I'm going to take as my starting point also my shoulder line. Then I'll mark 26 inches for the full length, which I initially wanted to make use of, but I went ahead to extend it later on. So go ahead and determine the length of your own shirt. Now I've gone ahead to rule straight line. This first line here is my shoulder line. This line here is my full length line. Now I'm going to be dividing my shoulder measurement of 16 inches by 2. So by 2 is 8 inches. I'm going to be adding 1 inch extra for ease. That is 9 inches now. I'm going to mark the 9 inches on my shoulder line. Now I'm going to mark 3 inches for the neck wideness and then 1 inch for the neck depth, because we are going to be cutting the back first before cutting the front piece. That is how notch collar is drafted. Okay, now I'm going to come down from this point of 9 inches by 1 inch, and then I'll connect it this way. Now this is for my shoulder slope. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is my armhole circumference divided by 2 is going to give me 8.5 inches. So I'm going to add half inch to it, making 9 inches. Okay, so I'm going to place the 9 inch from the shoulder slope point. I'm going to mark that 9 inches point, and then I'll go ahead and connect it this way. So after I'm done connecting it this way, I will also label this my chest line. So on my full length line, I'm going to divide my hip circumference by 4. So my hip circumference divided by 4 gives me 11 inches. I'm going to mark the 11 inches on my full length line. And then I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches for ease. You can make use of 1 inch for ease depending on how free you want the shirt to be on you. Okay, so mine, I'm making use of 1.5 inches. So I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to add extra 1 inch for the same allowance. Okay, so total of what I have here now is 13.5 inches, which I'm also going to mark that same 13.5 inches here on my chest line. So I'll mark the 13.5 inches there, and then I'll go ahead to connect the points together this way. The next thing I'm going to do is to divide my armhole circumference by 2, and then I'll get the midpoint. I'll mark the midpoint now, and I'll go ahead to connect it this way. Like I said, this is a very free shirt. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is to just label this my back. I'm going to be cutting this back pattern on fold. Then I'll proceed to cut this out. So after I'm done cutting this out, I'll go ahead to start cutting the front piece. Okay, so now for the front piece, I make sure that the pattern paper has more length than the one I used to cut out the back piece. Okay, so I came down by 5 inches. I'm going to rule a straight line. Now that 5 inches space I came down by is for my collar to sit there. Okay, now I'm going to go in by 5 inches as well from this point here, and this is for my lapel area. Okay, this will help me to expand the lapel to any inches that I want it to be. Okay, now I'll go ahead and connect the 5 inches point I just marked together. Now after I was done marking the 5 inches points, I'm going to explain this again. Remember, I came down by 5 inches, and then I rule a straight line, okay, which is my shoulder line now. Okay, I labeled it, and then I went in by another 5 inches, which is for my lapel area as well. So I'm just labeling it there. Okay, the 5 inches on the up is for the collar to sit perfectly. Okay, now I'll go ahead and take the full length of the shirt, which I told you I initially made use of 26 inches but extended it later on. Now I'm going to take the shoulder measurement, which is 9 inches, just like I took for the back piece, and then for the wideness I'm going to make use of 3 inches, and then for the depth of the front I'll make use of 3 inches. Now I'll go ahead and connect the points together this way. So after connecting in this way, I'm going to come down by 1 inch from my shoulder slope on that 9 inches point. Okay, now I will go ahead and connect it this way. The next thing I'm going to do is to take 9 inches from my armhole circumference. Okay, remember that as well, we took one cut in the back pattern. Now we'll go ahead and connect it to this way. Okay, and also this way. The next thing I'm going to do now is to extend this my chest line meeting the lapel area line. Okay, now I'll label this my chest line. The next thing I'm going to do now is to take the same 13.5 inches I took on the full length line of the back piece when I was cutting it. So I'm going to take it as well on the chest line, 13.5 inches from that lapel line. Okay, now I'll go ahead and mark the point there, and then I'll connect it together. Okay, so after connecting it together, I'm going to divide the armhole circumference by 2, and I'll connect it the same way I connected the back pattern. Now usually for the front pattern, we normally go in by 1/2 inch for the armhole area, like the middle point, but this is a very free shape, so I just decided to do it this way. Now the next thing is, from that my neck depth, I'm going to come out by 1 inch from that the lapel line there that I marked. Now this point I'm marking out from here is for my button allowance. Okay, so just go ahead and do the same thing. Now go ahead and connect it this way, and then I will label it my button allowance. The next thing I'm going to do is, from this my button line now, I'm going to come out by 1.5 inches. Now you can come out by 1 inch depending on how wide you want your lapel to be. Okay, so mine, I came out by 1.5 inches. Okay, I'll go ahead now, I will extend this line this way. Okay, this is my lapel line this way, and then I will extend the chest line meeting the button line as well. Now I'll go ahead and connect it this way. So this has formed my lapel area. Now you see the reason why I have to leave that 5 inches before I started drafting. Okay, now I'll go ahead and connect it this way as well to the neck wideness. Now the next thing I'm going to do is just to indicate that this line is no longer needed here. I'm going to measure the neck of the back. So what I have there after measuring was 3.5 inches. Now I'm going to place my tape this way, please, in a slant method a bit, and then I will mark that 3.5 inches point. Now I'll go ahead, I'll use my ruler to connect it this way. So I'm very sorry that this particular part didn't show that much, but I'll try to explain it the way I can. Okay, now I'll go ahead from this point here at the top. I'll go in by 1/4 inch. Now this is to make the collar to sit perfectly. Okay, so always do this. Now I'm going to be disregarding this other line here. I'm no longer needing it, so I'll go ahead from this point now at the top. I'll mark how wide I want the neck, the collar to be. So mine, I mark 3 inches. You can decide to mark 3.5, 4 inches, 2 inches, depending on what you want. So now I made use of 3 inches, and I connected it in a slant method. So now from this point here, the lapel part, I came up by 1/2 inch. Now from that 1/2 inch, from this button line here, I will place my tape in a slant method, and then I will mark 1 inch. So I'll go ahead now and connect it this way. Now after connecting it this way, the next thing I'm going to do is to connect it to the upper part of the collar. And then this is all for the collar. I'm just going to go ahead and label it my collar, and then this part here my lapel. So after doing that, I'm going to have to cut this times 2. This is the front piece. I'm going to be cutting times 2 of this, and then I'll go ahead to cut this out. So I'm going to be cutting the collar first. before I start cutting the remaining parts. Now after cutting this, this is how it's going to be sitting. This is how the notch collar is going to be sitting. You can see how lovely this is, okay? So now for this collar part here, I'm going to be cutting on fold, okay? I'm going to be cutting on fold, and I'm going to cut it into two places. There is two pieces of it on fold. Now I'll go ahead to start sewing. Earlier on, I said I was going to extend this, okay? So I extended the length by extra 3 inches. So before, the length was 26 inches, okay? So I extended it with extra 3 inches, making 29 inches. Now I added extra 1 inch, and that 1 inch that made it 30 inches is to fold the down part with half inch and then another half inch, okay? So I added allowance for the front piece. I cut times 2, and then I added allowance at the lapel area, the shoulder, the neck, but not the side, because we already did that while cutting it on the pattern paper. So from this point here on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark 4 inches. Then on the full length line, I'm going to mark 4 inches. So now I'll go ahead and connect those points together this way. Then I'll go ahead to cut this out. So this part I'm cutting out, this lapel area I'm cutting out, I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces of this on the fabric, the main fabric itself, okay? Now after cutting 2 pieces of this, you can see what I have here. So I'm going to be sewing this first because I'm going to use it to turn the lapel area on the main shirt, okay? Now this is all for the front piece, and then this is it for the back piece, which I cut on fold, okay? Now this is it for the collar itself. I cut out 2 pieces of it on fold, 2 pieces of the fabric on fold for the collar, okay? Now I'll go ahead to start sewing. So like I said, I'm going to sew this part I'm going to use to turn the lapel area on the main shirt first. So I'll just go ahead and unpin this, and then I ironed my gum stay to it. So I make sure my gum stay is bold so that the lapel like to cover that lapel area a bit, okay? And then I went ahead to, I'm going to be sewing this. I'm just going to fold this once and I will sew straight. I will repeat the same thing for the other piece as well. So after I was done doing that, this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do is to use this, and this is the main shirt itself. So I'm just going to unpin the pattern paper. I'm just doing this so you understand what I'm trying to explain. So after I remove the pattern paper, this is into 2 pieces. I'm going to remove one. I'll work on one first before working on the other front piece. Now go ahead and place this right side facing right side, and then I will sew with half inch, okay, all the way to the neck point here. But 1.5, that 1.5 inches we added extra to create the lapel parts. You can see that 1.5 inches is what I'm going to mark here, plus half inch stitching allowance, that is 2 inches. So I'm going to mark 2 inches on this part here, that is the neck area here of the lapel part, and then I'll mark the point there. Then I will come down again by half inch for the stitching allowance. I'll just mark the point here, and then I will go in with half inch stitching allowance. So this is how I'm going to sew all the way to the down part, okay, all the way to the hem line or the full length line. So I'm going to repeat the same thing for the other piece as well, okay? So after I was done doing that, this is what I have. I went ahead to just notch out this point here so it will be easy for me to turn, and then I cut out the sharp edge here. Now I'll go ahead to turn this to the front side. So after I was done turning this to the front side, You can see how the lapel is sitting. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is to, this is the other side, the other front piece as well. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is to iron the joining that I have on the front. Okay, so I'll go ahead and iron this in place so that when I'm using my hemming gum to secure the other material that I used to turn the lapel area, it will actually sit perfectly. Okay, so I'll go ahead now, use my hemming gum and place it this way under the other piece that I used to turn the lapel area, that is the button area. Then I'll go ahead and do it this way till I get to the shoulder line. Okay, so after I'm done doing this, this is how it is, and very nice and lovely. And you can see it's still overlapping with that 1 inch that I left for button allowance. And then the other piece that I used to turn the lapel area is not going to be like adjusting or go out of place. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to bring my back pattern, and I will pin the pattern paper. Then I will make sure the right side is facing me, that is the right side of the fabric is facing me. Then I will bring my front piece and place it right side facing right side. Then I'll bring the other piece as well, the front piece, right side facing right side, and then I will stitch the shoulder with 1/2 inch together. Now after I was done stitching it, this is what I have. The next part I'm going to be working on is my collar. So for my collar, I cut out 2 pieces of the fabric on fold, and then I added estée to just one of it, which is this one here. Then the other one I didn't add estée to it. So I'm going to place it right side facing right side, and then I will sew the up part here. I'm going to sew the up part this way. Okay, now I'm going to, after sewing it, I left 1/2 inch allowance at this point here. So please just watch what I'm explaining. Okay, I'm going to leave 1/2 inch there. This will help me to place, attach the collar to the shirt itself. Then I stitch with 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut out the sharp edge, and then I'm going to go ahead and notch it this way. Now after notching it, I'm going to turn this over to the front side, and then I'll go ahead to iron this properly. So I'm going to iron this, and then in the part that has the gum stay, I'm going to go ahead and iron this with 1/2 inch. So I'll fold with 1/2 inch and I'll iron all around, just the parts that have the stay. Now I'm going to go ahead and notch the middle point of the collar. The neck of the back, I'm going to mark the middle point. Now after notching the middle point of the back neck, so I'm going to be placing the part that does not have stay on the collar. I'm going to place it right side facing right side to the back, middle of the back, that is for the neck area. I'll go ahead and place it this way. I'll pin the middle first before I go ahead to pin it all round. Now pinning the middle first is going to help you to actually know if you are getting this right or not. So it's important that you pin the middle first. So after I'm done pinning this, I'll go ahead and sew with 1/2 inch all round. So after sewing with 1/2 inch all round, now I'm going to top stitch this at the wrong side of the shirt. Now remember, I'm going to notch the middle point of the collar on that part that have gum stay. So I'm going to notch it, and I will make sure the middle point of the shirt itself on the neck area is matching the middle point of the collar. That is that notch that I have on the back neckline. The middle point of the back neckline is going to be matching the middle point of the collar. So I'll go ahead and pin it this way. Then I will start pinning the remaining side as well. Now this is the reason why I ironed 1/2 inch on the collar. That is the part that have that gum stay. So that when I'm top stitching it, it will make work much more easier for me. So after pinning this, I'll go ahead and top stitch all round. So after I'm done top stitching this is what I have. This is how it's looking like. So I'll just go ahead and place this way so that you see the notch collar very well. And guys, this is how lovely this my notch collar came out, and you can see it's overlapping with 1 inch for the button, and the two sides of the front piece and the back piece are aligning properly. So now I'm going to cut out the sleeve, but I'll measure my armhole circumference. So I'll use whatever I have here to cut out the sleeve. So I have about 23.5 inches for the armhole circumference. Now I've gone ahead to fold my fabric this way. Then I'll go ahead and fold it again this way because I'm cutting the two sleeves together at once. Now I measure out the length that I need for this sleeve, 8 inches plus 2 inches for the hemming allowance. Now from this point here, I'm going to come down by 4.5 inches. I'll go ahead and connect it this way with my free hand. After doing that, I'm going to take the roundness of the sleeve, that is how wide I want the sleeve to be. Based on it's a free sleeve, I'm making use of 18 inches divided by 2 give me 9 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance. Now I'll go ahead and measure what I have here to see if I have the 23 and a half divided by 2 that I measured on my armhole area, and I got what I wanted. I'll go ahead and cut this out, leaving 1/2 inch stitching allowance. So I'm just going to cut out the excess here. Now remember, 1/2 inch, I came down by 1/2 inch to take 10 inches. 8 inches is the main length of the shirt. Then that remaining 2 inches that made it 10 inches just to fold this. So this is the main shirt length, okay? Now I'll go ahead now and notch the middle point of the sleeve. So I have two pieces here with me. The next thing I'm going to do is just to fold the down part with the 2 inches allowance that I left, okay, while cutting it. So after doing that for the both sleeves, I'll go ahead to join this with the shirt itself, okay. So now I'm going to be placing that point that I notch on the sleeve right side facing right side on the joining of the shirt, that is the shoulder, joining at the shoulder of the shirt. I'll go ahead and place it this way, pin this all around, and you can see it's actually aligning properly. Okay, I'll repeat the same thing for the other side as well. I'll pin this all around, and then I'll sew with 1/2 inch stitching allowance. So after, I'll repeat the same thing on the other sleeve as well. So after I was done attaching the sleeve to the shirt, this is what I have. I'll go ahead now to close the two side with 1 inch allowance that I left while cutting. Okay, remember on the sleeve I left 1 inch allowance, on the main shirt I left 1 inch seam allowance. But before doing that, remember 1 inch, I'm going to come down or come up by 1 inch, and this 1 inch is to fold the down of the shirt. Then from that point there, I'll come up by 3 inches. Now this 3 inches is where the shaping is going to stop. The shaping of the shirt is going to stop. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side as well. So after shaping this, you can see the opening that I have at the side. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it this way. Okay, let me turn it the other side so that I'll explain better. I'll fold it with half inch and then I'll fold with another half inch. I'll top stitch. When I get to this point that my stitches stop, I will cross it this way and then I'll continue with the other side. I'll fold with half inch and then fold with another half inch and top stitch, just like I did for this particular side here. See how this is looking like. Now after doing that, I'll head over to my machine to sew the other side as well. After doing that, I'm going to fold the down of the shirt with half inch and then another half inch. Remember, I left 1 inch for the stitching allowance at the down. So after I was done folding the down of my shirt, this is how my notch collar shirt is looking like, as you can see. Now I've gone ahead to mark my buttonhole. So I used my machine to do the buttonhole. That is my tabletop machine. Now from the point that I want my button to start from, I just mark for 4 inches away. Now you can mark 3 inches away or 3.5 inches away from each buttonhole or each point that you place your button. So after doing this, I'm going to be tacking my button on those points I mark, but I'll be doing it off camera because I'm not with my button now. But this is totally all for my notch collar shirt. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching and do not forget to subscribe, comment, share and like. Bye for now.